WEED.TO podcast.
Good afternoon and welcome to another InvestorIdeas.com podcast featuring stocks to watch, cannabis news, as well as insights from thought leaders and experts. This podcast is sponsored by CLS Holdings US Incorporated, trading on the OTCQB as CLSH. Cannabis Life Sciences, a diversified cannabis company operating as Cannabis Life Sciences, and an integrated cannabis producer and retailer in Nevada through its Oasis Cannabis subsidiaries, will be showcasing at MJBizCon this week in Las Vegas from November 14th to 16th. InvestorIdeas.com will also be at MJBizCon this week at Podcast Row, interviewing industry leaders and experts this Wednesday and Thursday. Today we'll be looking at announcements from PVOT Pharmaceuticals Incorporated, trading on the CSE as PVOT and the OTCQB as PVOTF, Valens Growworks Corporation, trading on the CSE as VGW and the OTCQB as NYSE, Canopy Growth Corporation, trading on the TSX as WEED and the New York Stock Exchange as CGC, and THC Biomed International Limited, trading on the CSE as THC. First, looking at PVOT Pharmaceuticals Incorporated, who announced that it's placed a purchase order with its German manufacturing partner, Solmic GmbH, for 15,000 bottles of PVOT Naturals Oral 1% CBD solution. The product will be distributed in the European Union to over 1,800 retail and online clients by PVOT's distribution partner, STU GmbH. The 30 milliliter bottle will retail for 90 Swiss francs and be available for purchase in December of 2018. The product is registered in Germany and has the required Pharmazentralnummer or PZN code. Once a product is introduced into the IFA database, a PZN is assigned, and it is the national standard identification code for products in the pharmacy market in Germany, which makes the products eligible for sale in other EU countries. Dr. Patrick Frankham, PVOT's CEO, stated, "With this initial purchase order from Europe, PVOT has completed another important milestone. In 1 year, the company has successfully transitioned from acquiring patented formulation and delivery technologies to commercializing our catalog for differentiated biocannabis products and initiating sales. Cannabis is an entirely new market, and we are paving the way for premium science-based products consumers will demand. With recently announced sales channels and joint venture partners in Latin America, Europe, and Canada across the pharmaceutical and beverage markets, PVOT is well positioned to rapidly capture global market share in the emerging industry." Looking next at Valens Growworks Corporation, a licensed vertically integrated provider of cannabis products and services focused on various proprietary extraction methodologies, distillation, cannabinoid isolation, and purification, as well as associated quality testing, has announced that it's entered into a multi-year extraction services agreement with Harvest One, trading on the TSX Venture as HVT, for cannabis extraction and value-added services. Under the terms of the agreement, Harvest One subsidiary, United Greeneries, will ship bulk quantities of dried cannabis to Valens over an initial 3-year term. The company will receive and process the cannabis on a fee-for-service based into bulk resin or other cannabis oil derivative products. The company will also conduct R&D services for Harvest One to support their product line development, including health and wellness products, beverages, vape pens, and nutraceuticals using cannabis oil derivative products. The significance of these products is reflected in the more developed markets in the U.S., where raw flower makes up less than half of the products sold. Next, looking at Canopy Growth Corporation, who today released its consolidated financial results for the second quarter fiscal 2019, ended September 30th of 2018. During the quarter, Canopy Growth secured capital via a strategic $5 billion investment from Fortune 500 beverage leader Constellation Brands, which closed subsequent to the quarter. These funds will be deployed towards the company's core strategic objectives of 1. Intellectual property development, and 2. Replicating the company's Canadian platform for success across a large number of international markets. Sales in the second quarter were in line with management's expectations leading into the opening of the recreational cannabis market. Revenue for the second quarter fiscal 2019 was $23.3 million, representing an increase of 33% over the prior year's quarter, in which revenue was $17.6 million. As planned, the company made only limited test shipments of $0.7 million in recreational channels during the second quarter to confirm supply chain systems functionality before the launch of recreational cannabis on October 17th. Oils, including the company's soft gel capsules, accounted for 34% and 18% in the respective second quarters of fiscal 2019 and 18 of the product revenue for each period, demonstrating an increased demand for value-added products that require lower active ingredient inputs and provide higher margins. With extensive investments over the past year, including most notably in the second quarter, in branding and retail development, our entrance into the retail cannabis market has been a success, with our SKU assortment obtaining over 30% listings market share in the multi-store physical retail store networks nationwide. With substantial product inventories on hand, new product formats coming to market as planned, a captive sales force driving increased demand through physical retail stores, and increasing internal and channel efficiencies, we believe, based on market conditions today, that we will attain significant and sustainable market share of the Canadian recreational market, said Bruce Linton, Chairman and Co-CEO of Canopy Growth. And finally, looking at THC Biomed International Limited, who announced that it's received a Cannabis Act and Cannabis Regulations license from Health Canada on November 8th of this year. This is a new license under the Cannabis Act, and it allows THC to grow, produce, and sell cannabis products on a large scale under the new regime. THC also announced that Clone Shipper, its wholly owned subsidiary, has received a notice of allowance from the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office regarding THC's patent application for the invention of an illuminated shipping container for live cannabis plants. THC now has 3 months to conduct a final review of its patent application, file any necessary amendments, submit the formal drawings, and pay the issue fee. The notice of allowance is not a grant of patent rights, but a notice for the examiner that the application is being allowed. In addition, due to the high demand for cannabis products, THC has completed its 4th shipment of cannabis products to the province of BC. Its previous 3 shipments have sold out since launch day on October 17th. THC is focused on meeting the high demand for its products, and it continues to expand and develop its production space, as announced in previous press releases in October and June of this year. This podcast is in partnership with featured sponsor CLS Holdings US Incorporated, trading on the OTCQB as CLSH. More info and details can be found at our disclaimer and disclosure page at InvestorIdeas.com. That's all for today's podcast. Podcast is now a certified word trademark on the blockchain through Cognate Incorporated CM certification. InvestorIdeas.com podcasts are also available on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and TuneIn. If you'd like to be a guest or sponsor of this podcast, please contact InvestorIdeas.com. Investor Ideas reminds all listeners to read our disclaimers and disclosures on the InvestorIdeas.com website, and this podcast is not an endorsement to buy products or services or securities. Investors are reminded that all investments involve risk and possible loss of investment. Investor Ideas does not condone the use of cannabis except where permissible by law. Our site does not possess, distribute, or sell cannabis products.